What is going on, guys? My name is Jay Kraft with the Facebook group Bolorama Pickers Lounge, and we are here tonight to talk about the eBay Fall Seller Update for 2018. I know this isn't a particularly sexy subject, and no one enjoys reading through the entirety of the update, but that's what I'm here for tonight, is to help break down all the questions and the curiosities that people are having. I can't help but get frustrated when I see individual little posts go up online, and it just says like, hey, watch out for this policy change, but there's no context involved. And I also understand taking 10 to 20 hours to read the entirety of not just the update, but also all of the changes to the terms of services can be very, very daunting. So my goal is to power through all of this information in a quick and efficient way with you today. So I put together a little presentation. It's going to be about 15 or 20 slides that I put together to specifically break down the important information to you as a seller. Just kind of wade through a lot of that BS, and at the same time give you a little bit of insight as far as what I think that these changes are going to make for my store and some of the things you might want to be aware for your store, not just right now, but moving into the future. There was a lot of little things that I saw that the verbiage was very, very specific. And eBay is very methodical when it comes to how they describe things and how they talk about policy changes online. So there's going to be a lot happening, but I'm going to do my best to break this down in a very digestible way. Now, if you're like me and you know other people who sell on eBay, make sure you tell them, check this video out and check out the stuff in the description as well. We have stuff up there to join our community, to help support the show, save a ton of money on your shipping. Look in the description to learn more about all of that stuff. But without further ado, eBay Fall Update 2018, a comprehensive breakdown. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to learn this today with me. We got three main points that we're going to be covering over the entirety of this presentation. The first one covers marketplace updates. The second one is going to be inventory optimization. And the third one is going to be regarding service metrics and shipping. Now, I want you guys to know, even though you're watching this on YouTube, I actually have a live audience online with me right now who may be jumping in and asking questions as we carry on. Now, if you want to see these questions and you want to be a part of this conversation during our next episode, or you want to be part of the after show, feel free to join our group. The links are down below as well. So, with these 3 points, let's go ahead and start off with the marketplace updates. Now, we've broken those down even further into 4 smaller points: customer support phone number, managed payments, secure HTTPS content, and fee updates. And when we say updates, I think we both know which direction those fees are going to be going. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first slide right here. Marketplace updates, improve communications with customers. So now, with the new update, starting today, you can have prospective customers contact you directly through your customer service phone number. So what does that mean? So if you're a brand and you have this large, lovely company who, let's say, specializes in temporary tattoos, and a customer has a question, rather than sending you a message online, they now have the ability to get your phone number, if you choose, pick up the phone and call you direct to ask a question. Now, I have some insights, but kind of back and forth on this, and I want you to know I read the entirety of the FAQ for every single policy change, and I read the entirety of every change to the terms of services on each one of these policies that we're talking about today. So I know what you're thinking. The first thing you're thinking is, how are they going to be able to safeguard against people doing business outside of eBay? Well, they can't really, but what they're saying is hey, you still have to adhere to our terms of services. You still have to make sure the deal's done on eBay. I know what you're thinking too. Like, well, we can just skirt around that. Trust me, eBay will be able to tell if you're delisting items, okay, and then collecting a PayPal transaction directly after by the same person, okay, after the person has clicked on the call to contact the business button. Now, what are the main benefits of this? Like I said, you have the choice as to whether or not you want to be a part of this. The biggest benefit to this is that a customer might have a buying question. Now, this is a phrase that we use in the world of sales, where a buying question is a question that leads one step closer to somebody making a buying decision, and preferably in the right direction. So if somebody calls in about your temporary tattoos and they say, hey, I just want to know if this is going to be safe for my child who's 2 years old. I'm worried about the ink and the fibers. And you say, oh yeah, it's completely non-toxic, 100% okay. Go ahead and place your order. Now, there's certain customers that they will be excited about an item right then and there. Okay, these aren't the people who are tossing items on their watch list and waiting to come back to them around later. They're impulse buyers and they're ready to buy right away. I can't tell you the number of times I've had to circumvent eBay's rules to be able to get a buyer to contact me. How do you do this? Before this happened, I would generate just a fake Facebook business page, and I'd say, hey, have you heard about such and such company in such and such town online? You might want to reach out to them regarding that product. What do? They go to the business page, they see the phone number on there, and then they call me, and then I'm not violating eBay's terms of services by sending out a phone number directly to my customer. Now, is this the best course of action? Not really, but with this new option, now I can opt in and I can take phone calls inbound. What are some of the downsides, though? Well, you're going to get some people that are not very friendly. Different strokes, different folks. You know, we deal here locally with my game store. Being in a retail setting, we get some really appallingly foul customers calling in for requests sometimes. If you're somebody that doesn't like interacting with people as it is, you know, and you know who you are out there, then this might not be the feature for you. You might want to bypass this. But if you're somebody like me and seizes the opportunity to try and close a sale up, this is going to be a huge opportunity for you to try and boost your sales. Now, here's what's great about this. You can opt in and out of this, come and go as you please. This isn't like eBay's new payment options that they have going where once you're in, you're locked in. You give it a shot. If it's not for you, you get a couple calls you don't like, go ahead and kick it to the curb. But I myself would strongly suggest you consider signing up for this. It's available right now. It doesn't cost any money. And, you know, I don't know if there's going to be any type of vetting process that's going to be happening to be able to get the number to the buyer. But if somebody's calling you looking to buy something, I say go for it. The other thing about this too is, like I said, it can potentially increase your sales. Just be careful when it comes to trying to circumvent eBay's terms of services and trying to do deals outside of eBay. I cannot stress this enough. It's not worth it. You know, if you execute one deal with a customer, though, you can say, hey, I'll tell you what, just go ahead and buy our starter pack. Okay, go ahead and buy that from us through eBay. And if you need anything else, go ahead and give us a call after. And there's nothing against eBay's terms of services regarding that. Once you've sold to a customer once and they have your contact information and they'd like to do business directly with your brand again, they are more than welcome to. You are not doing a violation of eBay's TOS to continue business outside of that first transaction. So maybe, you didn't hear this from me, maybe consider having, you know, a coupon online, you know, with quantity 20 and it costs $1. And you can say, you know, hey, you know, we have a coupon available on our site. It'll get you 5% off any future orders. You go ahead and buy that coupon, and we can activate that offer over the phone for you, and then you can just go ahead and give us a call back, and we'd be happy to do more business with you. And that is 100% within eBay's terms of services. Now, if you think about it too, eBay fees are going to run you anywhere between 10, and believe it or not, we're looking as high as 15% once you integrate your payment charges. A 5% off coupon on anything in your inventory, you're actually still making a net gain. Like I said, I think this is a strong move for eBay. Okay, what they're trying to do is they're trying to lower the cost of account maintenance by allowing sellers to be more hands-on with their own brand. I think it's a strong move. I think it's very, very telling of the direction that eBay wants to take this brand in. I like it, and I want to see what happens with it. I'm going to go ahead and get set up for it probably later today, and if you have any questions about it in the future, let me know. Moving on to the second part of the marketplace updates, we're looking at improvements to the platform security. Real sexy topic here, I know. So I'm going to try and break this down and make it super digestible. All listings must now come from a secure HTTPS connection versus your standard HTTP. So if you look at the top on your search bar, right now, I'm using a secure connection, okay? And you'll see at the top, it says HTTPS //www. So it's the thing that you see before. Now, if you're using an app like the eBay app or the Amazon app, on your tablet, most times that connection is going to be secure, especially with good quality products. If you're using an iPad or if you're using any Samsung device, they're by default going to be set to the secure setting. You can also request a secure version of the website. Now, I've done all of my listings for the last 10 years on iPads. That's just how I've done them. And I went through the tool check because I wanted to make sure that my listings were okay. of all the listings I've ever done, and some of them are 6 or 7 years old, none of them had security issues. Now, where this really falls into play, it's going to fall into play for people who are using third-party services to maintain their listings. So if you're either personally hosting or you're using a third-party site to host your item description, your item images, what they're basically worried about is having links within the actual descriptions or bad coding inside of the descriptions that could in turn cause a security breach for eBay. And they're just trying to hunker down on that. We had the issue 1 year ago, actually, on the previous fall update where they said we don't want any more HTML coding whatsoever inside the descriptions. This is just taking that one step further. They want to make the platform more secure. Now, eBay isn't going to outright come out and say, yes, we're having issues with security, but this is a very big security play. It's something that should have happened years ago, in all honesty. But I understand why they kind of broke it down into steps. We're seeing the same thing happen with the transition into payments. They don't want to give people too much to worry about at one time. I want to also specify that this includes whenever you're revising or editing a listing. So if you're using a really chintzy tablet, okay, something real junky, maybe you bought it for $40, $50, brand new, just some really off-brand, tech, or if you're using an old, outdated browser, and when I say browser, I'm referring to Internet Explorer, Mozilla, or Google Chrome, then you're going to be running into some problems when you're doing your listings. The best thing I can recommend doing is two things. One, maintain all your listings yourself. There's no reason ever to pay for a third-party listing service or to even use one to give away that your account private information to a third party just to host your stuff for you. I don't see the benefit for it. And number two, use Google Chrome. Just download the latest version of Chrome if you're somebody who lists on a PC. You're going to be 100% fine and secure. If you need to be able to check your listings, the tool is available through the Fall Seller Update link, which I'll put in the description as well. And like I said here, the last key note, it's primarily affecting those who self-host their own content, pictures, and descriptions. I'm going to read through my notes. I got some extra notes here. Self-hosted content this is important, will have to be changed, okay, from HTTP to HTTPS by September 15th, 2018. Buyers will be notified if you have unsecure page content at the top of your page as well. So if I visit your item that you're selling and right at the top of the page, it's going to say, this seller is using an unsecured code within their listing, okay? I'll tell you right now, when I already visit a site that's unsecured, Google pops up and says, hey, are you sure you want to be here at this site? Just go ahead and click here if you want to leave. I'm going to tell you right now, check your listings. Make sure that you have a secure connection if you're using third-party sites. Now, you can fix that by adding the S to your HTTP as well. If you need assistance with that, please reach out to me in the comments or send us a DM on Facebook, and we'll be happy to help. Our group is facebook.com/groups/Bolorama. Okay, moving on to the next one. Part 3 of the marketplace updates is new managed payments. Some members have already been opted into this new method. We've talked about this before. This is the transition over to Adyen. We've done so much on this already. If you haven't watched the previous video, I believe it was 3 videos ago, and just reach out to me and I'll get it to you. I don't want to spend much time talking about the payment conversion, payment transfer over. If you want to see the full episode, reach out to me and I will get that to you. But the other things to take away from that, if you're not doing it now, I strongly recommend you don't. Okay, there's ways to get into the new payment system, but real brief and real quick. 1, you cannot accept global ship orders. 2, you cannot accept PayPal orders. 3, once you get into it, you cannot get out of it. Stay away from it for now. Okay, you want to put that on the back burner for absolutely as long as possible. Next one. For the market update, we have new fees for 2018 and beyond. I was really taken aback by some of these adjustments that happened. I'm all right with minor increases because, I get it. Inflation, sure. Just go in and throw that catch-all excuse. But that's not really the case. It seems that eBay is grabbing harder at its existing customer base to make more money rather than bringing in more buyers and bringing in more sellers. Because the reality is eBay doesn't make money on the buyers. They make their money on the sellers. So by making the platform more enticing to more sellers, keeping more people here, they would make more money and they won't have to skim harder off the top. And I think they really, really are. So right now, running listings with reserve prices okay, is now up to $5 to run a reserve, or 7.5%, whichever is greater of the two, with a new cap of $250, which is up from $100. So now I understand not a lot of us are going to be running reserves. It's generally a dumb idea to run a reserve, but basically what they're doing is they're catching a very, very finite percentage of sellers online, and generally who are selling very high-end goods. We're looking at, art as in paintings and sculptures, fixtures, installations, stuff that they really need to safeguard with a reserve, but at the same time, reserves are for people who cannot confidently place a buy-it-now price on an item. If you can't confidently place a buy it now price, then you need to be running an auction and start that with the minimum amount of money that you're willing to accept for an item, and then see what happens. I can't think of a single time in the last 5 years that I've ran a reserve. Joseph Barker online right now just commented cars, and I could see where cars would be applicable, but at the same time, let's just take that car example. The minimum amount you might want to take could be 10% below Blue Book. Okay, and you would just start your auction right there. Now, there is room to be argued that by starting a lower price, you can get more people excited and enticed to be a part of the auction. But the reality is, it's only going to go as high as people are willing to spend money on it. So I can't see a reason for the reserve. But here's the other thing too. Just like what Joseph said, that category for cars, if you are running a reserve, before they would take $100 if it was 7.5% of the total sale, which isn't hard to do. Now they're going to be taking up to $250. So a 250% increase over the previous amount that they were taking on reserves. Also, furthermore, subtitles now up to $1.50 on listings that were up to $150, and up from $1 to $3 on listings that are over $150. So if you have a $250 item online, and you're running it GTC, good till canceled right now, okay? And that listing is just going over and over, and you're paying $1 a month for your subtitle. It might be a quantity listing. That might be why you have it. Well, instead of paying $1 a month, you're going to be paying $3 a month now. And even if you just run an indiv listing, without the GTC, you're going to be looking at those accelerated costs as well. The last point to touch on is 30-day good till cancel listings. See an increase for subtitles from $2. Oh, excuse me, I had this wrong. From $2 up to $6. Okay, for GTC. The previous one I was talking about was if you were running a 7 or what is it? 135, 730. The standard listing durations. But if you're doing GTC, you're looking at increase from a $2 to $6 on your value pack, and at $650 respectively for all items over $150. So your value pack is it's your subtitle, it's the expanded picture pack, it's the highlighted title and all that stuff. Most times you see that bundled in with if you're listing on a tablet, or you'll see the option on a PC as well. But that's a pretty marked price increase. And I'll tell you right now, I was talking to somebody online earlier who had somewhere in the area of about 4,000 items listed, and they had a horrible sell-through rate. And I ran the numbers on their account, and they're spending about $6,000 a year across their 5 eBay stores. One was an anchor, and they had 4 basic stores. They were spending about $6,000 a year in fees alone. And when implementation of new stuff like this comes into play, I could see those costs just getting way out of control for people who aren't paying attention to what's happening with their eBay store. People who just kind of have it on cruise control. It's a very, very scary thing. Let's move on to the next one here. Got to have that coffee break. Last part of the market updates, expanding on the new fees for 2018. If you have a store in America or Canada, you will now receive unlimited insertion credits for auction-style listings that sell with your Basic Plus store subscription. So you're going to hear me using the phrase Basic Plus for the remainder of the show, and I'm referring to everything but your starter store. I found it a little bit sneaky that eBay has done some of these perks for stores that are basic and beyond. It seems like starter is kind of your gateway drug to kind of get you into selling, and they're not going to give you everything. They're just going to give you a little bit of a taste of the perks. But now once they got you paying your $40 a month, that's when they're going to start giving you a little bit more to actually work with. So what does that mean? If you list an item up and you're running it auction style and that item actually sells, you're going to go ahead and get the money back for the insertion. That's great. Is it a big deal? Not really. I think they've already had it set. They had it set up previously where if an item failed to sell and then you ran it a second time and then the item sold, you would get your insertion back then. So I'm not even positive that this is a change because most of us don't even sell auctions on eBay. And this isn't the type of thing that's going to entice me to start doing auctions. If they said, hey, we're going to go ahead and reduce your fees if you're selling auction style, I'll say, sure, that sounds great. I'm all for that. Okay. But with this, it's not a huge deal. The next one, final value increase on all media such as books, DVDs, and movies from 9.15% and 10% respectively, store and without a store, up to now 12% across the board for those with and without stores. Then you're also looking at an increase on all music except for records, moving up to 12% as well. So going from 9.15 and 10% respectively up to 12% is actually a pretty aggressive play. It goes without saying that DVDs and movies and books are the strongest categories on eBay. You even see the same thing with Amazon. The quantity of items listed within those three categories is insane. The fact that they're, again, skimming from the top, taking, some very specific sellers' key commodities. Like I look at myself, I sell quite a bit of this stuff and just kind of raking more money off the top. It really makes me worry about the strength of eBay when I see things like this happen within the updates. I also can't understand why there is an exception for records. I do also want to point out that eBay has been diligently looking at and attempting to make changes to people who are circumventing the fee policies. And that's pretty much who you can blame for this type of change as well. It's third-party sellers internationally. You don't see a lot of it domestically, who will take a full-size patio set or a electric scooter or a car even, and they'll list it inside of a category like books to get a lower fee than the category that they are actually supposed to list it into. So by misusing and abusing the store catalog and category system, that's why we're seeing these changes across the board where even some of our best performing categories that had lower percentages are starting to move up. So I'm not even going to tear into that right now, but that's definitely something that we're going to cover on the main show here next week for sure. Moving on to the next category, it's inventory optimization. We got 5 points on this one we're going to be covering. First one is brand new categories and features. Yes, eBay has decided it's time to add more categories. Real nice of them to do this right before the holidays. This is something that should be implemented in the beginning of the year to give sellers more time to be able to recategorize their items. The next one is item condition label definition updates, which is, again, thanks eBay for throwing this at us right before Christmas. Final value fee reduction in business equipment for all those people out there selling fax machines. And then include the make item specific in your heavy equipment wheel quantity item specifics. It's nonsense. I'm going to warn you guys right now before I switch over to this next slide. I reached out to eBay directly for a comment on this, and the comments that I got from them just absolutely horrified the heck out of me. It is scary. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're holding a cup of coffee, you may want to set it down. This is probably the most, when I was putting this slide together, I had a friend that I was communicating with via FaceTime, and I literally started laughing, and it was one of those laughs of anxiety and fear and I can't believe what I'm reading right now. So just brace yourself for this one, okay? Here we go. Inventory optimization, new categories and features in the product-based shopping experience. So we are going to be taking a look at how inventory cataloging is going to be working on eBay. So it comes to no surprise to anyone that eBay is slowly evolving to be more and more like Amazon, and Amazon has been the absolute king and powerhouse of cataloging items. And what the catalog basically refers to is a massive index of all items pretty much ever made that have been recorded and added to this catalog. So if I have this chintzy little tripod, okay, and we know what brand it is, somewhere within the catalog on Amazon, I'm going to be able to see the brand, make, specs, product descriptions, and even stock photos for this very specific item. Now, you're going to see a lot of these catalog items already having been made for stuff like DVDs, books, VHSs, music, all types of media. They're currently already made. So it's going to include vital information like SKUs and MPNs and stuff like that. And the whole goal of it is to be able to make a product-based shopping experience, which there's pros and cons to it. But basically, as we were talking about 2 episodes ago, buyers come to eBay, they spend on average 40 minutes on the site, and a majority of those people leave without buying anything at all. And we talked about this last week about what you can do. And if you didn't see last week's episode, I strongly recommend you check it out. We talked about practical things you could do to increase your sales volume by helping customers find your listings that they can't find. I've had this problem myself. I go to eBay looking for a used PS3 controller that's authentic for a customer, spend a half hour or 40 minutes, can't find it, say, I'm done. I can't do it. We even talk about the Costco effect. You go to Costco right now and you want to buy ketchup. Go buy ketchup at Costco. I dare you to go in there and buy 2 different types of ketchup. It's not going to happen. You know why? They have one. They have one option for ketchup, and you got 2 choices. You can either take it or you can leave it, and that's it. And the joy of that is that it makes the buying experience easier for the consumer. Now, don't get me wrong. This direction is great for the customer experience, but this direction is absolutely horrible for the seller as a whole. We haven't been provided the necessary tools and necessary training and necessary guidance by eBay to implement this correctly across the board. Now, I myself, and many of you Amazon sellers out there as well, understand how the catalog works already. You know how to use it. You know how to make changes. You know how to make updates. Okay, you know how to create a new listing if you need to. Okay, you know how to get your barcodes, and if you need barcodes, link in the description. You know how to do all of that stuff already. Okay. Most eBay sellers, this is going, wow, clean over the top of your head, because this is a crazy idea to expect your average eBayer to be able to go on and take a very specific item. Okay, I don't know what we can use here. We got this Acer mouse. Okay, to be able to take a very specific item and upload product details about that item that are to the quality standards that are necessary to help categorize and group items together. Okay, so this is a problem that I can see getting really out of control here very, very quick. So we have a flow chart here on the right, and I'm going to try and break it down for you. So first thing you do when you go to make a new listing, and this is all going to be implemented here very, very soon, okay? And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to be using the catalog, and you're going to type in what you got. And we have 2 options. Yes, my item is here. Or 3 options, excuse me. Yes, it's here. Good. Is everything correct on the catalog? Yes, it's good. List my item. This is the ideal situation. This is the dream situation. This is what happens on Amazon, okay? We pick up our phone when we're out in the field. We'll take an item. We'll scan the item. And if it's in the catalog, great. I'm ready to make a buying decision on that item. I know what I need to do to list it. But if I scan an item and it's not available on Amazon, it makes me think about not buying the item. Okay, because I don't want to go through the trouble to list the item. I know some of you saying, Jay, it's real easy to create a new listing on Amazon. Yeah, it might be easy, but it's not really worth my trouble. I'm worried the same thing's going to happen here on eBay. So if everything goes great, wonderful. Now, if we look at the option to the left, it says, this is the scary one. It says no. What happens then? Well, you have to create a brand new catalog entry. And I want to make sure I'm very clear on this. A catalog entry is different than a listing. Okay, you use your listing with all your own personal descriptions of the item itself. So if is it cracked? Is it worn? Is it used? Is it new? What does it come with extra stuff? That is your listing. Okay, your catalog is going to be giving you the breakdown and details about the original item itself. What kind of RAM does it have? What kind of battery size does it have? What kind of screen resolution does it have? What's the DPI on an item? These product descriptors are going to be the catalog. Okay, so if it doesn't have one, guess what? You're going to have to make a new catalog listing. Okay, this is absolutely horrifying, and it's not across all categories. We're going to be looking at the categories here in a second, but trust me when I say this, eBay is going to want to go across all categories. So you're going to have to make a new one. Okay, and then what? Okay, well, you got to send it to eBay for them to review it. Yep. And then eBay is going to decide within 24 hours whether or not this item can actually go live. Holy cow. Okay, let's look at the other scenario, okay? Oh, I found my catalog listing. Great. Oh, no, somebody didn't list the variation on this phone. It doesn't come just in black. It also comes in gray, and I'm selling the gray one. I've got to make an update to the catalog. So I'm going to have to input that variation into the catalog. Guess what? Send that update across to eBay as well. And then they're going to have to make the decision, because they can decline it. They have to make the decision as to whether or not you're going to be able to list just like that. I also want to specify, too, that there's going to be additional spots for adding variations for stuff like aftermarket upgrades. So if you have taken, let's say this phone, for instance, and the stock color on the back is black, but let's say you've gotten a gold one, okay? You are going to be able to include information outside of the catalog for aftermarket updates to your item. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's going to be a very, very valuable workaround when you don't want to send something through for eBay's 24-hour review process. I'm going to stress this though. Remember, you want to stick to eBay's terms of services for the safety of your account, but that is going to be a viable workaround to simply get an item pushed through. It's no different than listing does not apply for MPNs and UPCs when you do not want to take the time to find it or you do not want to take the time to punch it in. We've all been there, okay? I understand how frustrating it can get. There's also going to be, let me see. Let me read my notes right here. Oh yeah, there's one other thing too that really kind of shook me. They said that they're looking at let me scoot this over. I didn't realize my notes were visible. Let me get that fixed really, really quick for you guys. Window capture. Let me get this shimmied down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so one of the other things too, they put the industry standard retail experience. This phrase is being used by eBay as comical at best. I put this in my notes because they're saying this. In their notes, they put this. They said the industry retail standard experience. Now, I laughed when eBay used this phrase because it's something that Amazon has used. It's an Amazon phrase that eBay is actually using. One other thing, too, that's important to know is that multi-SKU listings will be ineligible for most of the catalog changes. It's not going to affect most people. If you understood what I said there, then it's going to be affecting you. Okay, and here's the big scary thing. The things that have me worried the most is that the catalog is persistent across all listings who are selling that item. So if there's 100,000 people who have this phone listed on there, and I decide that a catalog change needs to be made, and I make a change, and I submit it in for eBay to review this catalog change, and eBay approves it, it changes the catalog for every single person who has this specific item listed. Okay, now that sounds just as horrifying as it actually is because it's a problem that we deal with on Amazon currently. When people edit the catalog and they don't know what they're doing and these changes get approved and pushed through, it screws everything up. It makes it real bad, especially when you're dealing with INADs, items not as described, returns and claims and stuff to that effect. So you're going to want to keep an open eye, a vigilant eye for changes that happen to catalog listings on listings that you are actually working with. Now, there will be a new tab for that within the Seller Hub, so you can try and watch out for changes, especially if they're not correct. If they alter the description on an item, you better be ready to fight eBay on that if you get a case opened against you. And if it does happen to you, let me know, and I'll be right there to fight with you as well, okay? Let me make sure we got all my notes here. This is what I was talking about earlier. We were talking about diction. There's a phrase here that they used at the end of the FAQ, and they said that fashion and collectibles not affected at this time. Okay, it's very, very telling, okay, when they say not at this time. Fashion will be affected eventually. We're not going to be looking at real vintage items, but we're pretty much going to be looking at everything from the late 70s onward to modern fashion. If there's a UPC, if there's a style number, if there's a cut design number, something to that effect, eBay's going to want to try and get that on lock. It doesn't come without, or it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone that eBay moves a disproportionate amount of clothing comparative to their competitors Amazon when it comes to used clothing. You know, there's a market that eBay pretty much has on lock. If they go and screw with that, I'm really going to be worried, because the thing is, it's already hard enough to list clothing. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, an item's an item. No, it takes a long time to deal with clothing. Finding the right item, cleaning it up, staging it, taking quality photos that really emphasize the true color and true size of an item, and not to mention the inherently high return rate with finicky buyers or people who are basically abusing the system to rent clothing for specific needs. This could seriously drive away soft goods sellers from the platform. You know, as a whole, what does that mean? It means stay positioned to fill in that gap and fill in that void. I think there's going to be quite a few people leaving the platform if that does happen, to where you have to add catalog information to soft goods. Let's move on to the next slide here. I don't want to be droning on about some of these things, because the whole idea is to make this a little funner and a little easier than reading it yourself. Next one up, inventory optimization. Again, new categories and features in the product-based shopping experience. So if you look off to this side, we have a list here of all of the currently affected categories that are now going to be requiring catalog input. Now, you may have seen some of these already. You go on there to sell a video game, you go on there to sell a computer part, and the catalog listing pops up. Well, they're going to ask that you actually use these. The do not use this option isn't going to be applicable here coming into the future. We're looking at business and industrial, cell phones and accessories, computers, tablets, networking, consumer electronics, home and garden, musical instruments and gears, sporting goods, video games, and consoles. That last one hits close to home. The catalog for video games is really, really busted. Now, your mainstream and traditional games, 80% of the board is going to be covered on those, but good solid 20%, it doesn't exist. You know, the sell-through rate and frequency at which some of these games show up, it's non-existent. That, and also the fact that the photos for some of those catalog listings are absolute trash. This is a similar problem that we see on Amazon as well, where we go look for a catalog listing and it's garbage. You want to go and actually list that item up, and it doesn't look anywhere near what you're actually selling yourself. So I don't know. Hopefully we can iron out these kinks soon. My notes here say currently affected categories, but most categories will have integration by the end of 2020. Yeah, so eBay really wants to spread this catalog out to try and speed up the consumer shopping experience. If they can get it right, okay, and I will tip my hat to eBay if they do. If they get this right, and I can go on there and I can punch in exactly what I'm looking for, and I can be shown that specific item and then the variations of that item correctly, I'll be blown away. Okay, we're going to have a home run on our hands. We're all going to be making money. It's going to be fantastic. Now, I can't sit here and in good faith say that eBay isn't rolling the dice with our livelihoods across the board. Okay, we've seen changes and changes and changes happen before. This is probably one of the biggest ones. And you know what really shocks and appalls me? The number of other people that have cranked out YouTube videos on this topic, and they say fall seller update, not a big deal. This is a huge deal. Anyone who tells you, okay, that this isn't important, or if you're part of another Facebook group, really think about this, okay? Because I love this group and I love what I do. If you're part of another group and they aren't talking about this, that's not a group that cares about your online e-commerce well-being. This is such an important thing to talk about, and I know so many other sellers, buyers, etc., are truly missing the mark. Here's the other thing too. Catalog listings must be reviewed for 24 hours when adding new catalog entries. We just talked about that as well. Here's the big thing, okay? This is another thing that had me comically laughing. Okay. Remember a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when we had to go through and we had to add UPCs to all our items? Do you remember how long that took? It took me a week, maybe 2 years ago. It was mandatory. If you had brand new items on eBay, all new items had to have UPCs. What happens if they didn't have UPCs? Guess what? Suppressed. Suppressed meaning that buyers can't buy them. They can't even see them. They were invisible on eBay until you made the necessary corrections. And does not apply worked sometimes, but not all the time. You know how many items I had to mark as like new because that option for grabbing the UPC just wasn't available? Certain items just don't come with UPCs when you're dealing with stuff before the 80s. There's a lot of items that just don't have it, but I had to mark like new. and then put in the description, this item's brand new, but I simply don't have a barcode for it. It killed me on certain areas. We have the same problem again. Okay. And I tell you what, I'm going to be calling eBay and I'm going to ask them for a credit because I need to get paid to have to deal with this. Catalog adoption will be mandatory by mid-September 2018, and unsupported listings will be suppressed. Okay. If no one's warned you about that in these other groups, this is your warning right now. Okay. You're going to have to stop what you're doing. Look into all these categories over here, all the ones if you have items listed in these categories, and make the necessary corrections to your listings or they will be suppressed. I am going to confidently say 30% of my 800 listings online right now are brand new sealed video games, and a large majority of those do not have catalog listings because they're very obscure. It's going to be a lot of work for me. And I strongly suggest you get started on it early rather than later if you have the opportunity to. But it's going to be a big, big deal. If anyone has any questions, as always, don't be afraid to ask. We are going to pause for 1 second. We're going to thank our sponsors real quick. This episode's sponsored by Amazon UPC Barcodes. Amazon UPC Barcodes is the #1 source of the cheapest UPC and EAN barcodes online. All of your barcodes are GS1 verified and have no monthly or yearly fees attached to them, which is great. And if it's your first time selling on Amazon, maybe even you need a UPC for eBay, because who knows, you just might. Give them a ring, reach out to them online. They'll even help you set up your first listing. And they send you out this really nice welcome letter that kind of explains how to use your barcodes, how to use your EANs. If you visit AmazonUPCBarcodes.com and punch in promo code BOLO, B-O-L-O, you'll get 10% off your order and you'll help support the show as well. So moving on to our next slide, we have inventory optimization, new categories and features in the product-based shopping experience. Part 3, new categories being added that your listings will need to seat into by February 2019, or they will be suppressed. We're not talking full suppression, but we're talking an adjustment in visibility. These items simply will not show up correctly if they're not slotted into the correct categories. eBay is going to be getting a lot more vigilant about people listing the wrong items in the wrong categories. So I'm going to touch base on a couple of these that I found to be interesting. 3D printers and supplies, DJ equipment, memory, specifically RAM. What else do we got? Pro audio equipment, surveillance and smart home electronics, which would be like your Hue bulbs and stuff to that effect. Video games and consoles except video games, which is a really interesting one. I don't know if that would be for like plug and play units and stuff to that effect. And then they've also added a virtual reality category. So that's just some of the categories. If you're listening to this rather than watching this, there's a whole list of categories here. If any of your items that you have currently listed right now seat into these categories and you don't have them seated into those categories now, you will have to update or they could be suppressed. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there now. It's something you're going to want to work on. Inventory optimization, item condition, label, and definition updates. New quote-unquote open box being added to electronics, home, and garden, health and beauty, and musical instruments. This is to be used in conjunction with like new, but with a clear difference. This is in conjunction with previous changes and changes are in an effort to reduce INADs. So what does open box mean? Open box means factory seconds. So, if let's say the cell phone, for instance, again, they have a whole ton of extra screens. The screens have clearly never been used. You can list that up as an open box. If something was being used as a store demo, but the product was never actually used for its intended purpose. Let's say a razor, for instance, like an electronic Braun Series 7 or something, and it was just for display. It was never turned on, never ran against your face. You could sell that as open box. The idea with open box, again, is to more similarize itself with Amazon, but also to try and increase sales prices on average and to be able to more clearly define what the consumer is getting. They added this category because there's been a lot of times where people have been in the fence and in the middle on what the best place to actually list an item in. I've heard people say, well, it's technically new because it's never been used, but I don't want to mark it as like new because I won't get as much money. This is going to seat that lovely little middle gap in between. reading a comment here from Tim Russell. He says, this is going to catch many off guard, just as the change that was made in the ability to create sales in their stores. Yeah, so Tim Russell is referring to how eBay has just made it so that you cannot change, or you cannot run an item on sale if you've manually adjusted its price within the last 14 days, or if you've listed that item within the last 14 days. And this, again, has to do with a very, very, very small percentage of sellers really screwing things for everyone else by listing an item and then immediately running it at 90% off to try and circumvent or try and game the system to increase their search rank. It's really frustrating. But yeah, again, these changes are kind of being happened and they're slipping under the radar. Here, I'm even going to back up a second. I want to show you guys this slide again. You see this image over here on the side, this how to update your eBay catalog. This isn't in the fall update. It's not there. You can go through the entirety of the fall update. They snuck this in on the side. This is part of the help and the TOS. It's not even in the update. This right here, this isn't in the update either. And this one, none of these are in the actual fall update. Okay, they shoved all that off to the side, and that's why I said this one video you're watching right now. It took 20 hours of research to put this video together for you guys, just so that we can try and get everything done. We're already running close to an hour, and I want to make sure we get through the last of this right here for you guys. I don't want to take up all your time. And those of you who are watching this now, we are going to have an after show after we roll the credits, and we'll be talking a little more in detail about some of these changes. So I hope everyone understands that open box. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Here's the next one. Who's ready for some fee reductions? It's not going to affect any of us. I'm just going to say that right now. Fee reduction in categories used by less than 1% of sellers. Okay. Yay. How many of you guys out there, let me see a show of hands, are selling heavy equipment, commercial printing presses, and food trucks and concession trailers? Yeah. A lot of you guys out there? Oh, whoa, slow down. Way too many of you guys to count. Well, you can look forward to a reduction in your final value fees from 4% down to 2%, and your insertion, if you have a store, from 4% down to 1.5%. I can't understand why they even did this. I don't know if they thought, like, you know, hey, we just don't have enough people selling food trucks on our eBay brand. We need to do something to rein these people in to get them selling again. And then whoop-dee, you can now include how many wheels that you're going to be including with your listings, or how many wheels are on the trailer. Yay. So not going to spend much time there. We're going to finish up here on the last category, service, metrics, and shipping, which is going to be covering 4 points: accessing your service metrics and peer benchmarks, uploading tracking information, and then expansion of eBay labels. Okay, so service metrics and shipping. Whoop, where are we going here? So here we go. Competitive insight with peer benchmarks introduced to the Seller Hub. What does that actually mean? That means that now you are going to be able to see how you are selling comparative to other sellers in specific categories on specific items. Are you on par? Are you overperforming? Are you underperforming? This is exactly the same thing as the seller index on Amazon that they've been doing for a long time. Okay. Amazon implemented the seller score, and then they also have the right to charge you more money if you fall below standard. I believe standard is a score of 400, which is fairly low, and I think it goes up to like 1,200. It's no different than your credit score and getting penalized for that. eBay is going to be doing the exact same thing. This is pretty stupid, but at the same time, I kind of get where they're coming from. And don't get me wrong. Okay, I try hard to be very critical. You know, like I said before, you're not allowed to really consider it a fair business partnership if you're not allowed to be critical of the one who issues you your paycheck. You have to be able to have that voice. You have to be able to speak up. I kind of get where they're coming from, though. So basically, okay, if you have a high level of items not as described, okay, and you're falling below the average, you can get hit with a 4% higher final value fee in those specific affected categories. So my cell phone, again, for instance, if I sell a bunch of cell phones and I'm getting a bunch of items not as described, and I'm just not doing much to try and curb it, and the quality of my listings is the reason as to why, they're going to charge me 4% more on my final value fees for all of those items. Here's the justification for it. The justification is that it costs more money for eBay to service that account, which is true. Okay, we're going to have angry customers calling directly to eBay. What can you do? We're going to have the sellers calling into eBay asking to have cases closed. We're going to be eating up eBay's resources and time that they can spend doing other things like lowering the cost of selling food trucks on eBay. So I get where they're coming from. But okay, and then the last part here, high quote-unquote item not received claims will increase your estimate for customers viewing your listings. I forgot to put in the last part on this. It's going to increase your estimates for shipping. Let's put that in there. Shipping customers for shipping. Okay, I totally got that wrong. We're just going to leave that alone. So let's say your lead time currently says the shipping estimate is going to be between 3 to 5 days. If you have a history of not getting it correct and you're not shipping it out in time, then you are also going to be seeing adjustments to your listings, obviously without your full consent. That's going to show a more reflective time of the amount of time that a customer can expect to get their item. My notes here say the goal in mind is to improve the ability of sellers, basically to try and improve the overall quality of the selling experience, and to reduce the poor experience that some customers are having on the platform now. I get it. It makes a little bit of sense. Basically, they're saying don't be a screw up, okay? And we're not going to charge you extra. But I think you guys know who you are. And basically, it's not going to be anyone watching this video. If you care enough to watch this right now, you care enough about your store to do the right thing. Let's take a look at the next one. This one really took me for a surprise. Uploading tracking to your listings. Tracking uploaded to the item is strongly encouraged, but is still not required at this time. I found that very surprising that you are not required to have tracking. Items not received cases can no longer be opened with valid tracking received attached to items. Whoa, that is awesome. Okay, so basically what that means is that if I ship an item to you and I've included tracking and the tracking shows that the item made it to you, you cannot open up an item not received case against me. That's a big win. That's going to save me a lot of time and trouble. I get about one of those every other month from somebody who's like, I didn't get my item. And I can see clearly on the tracking that it was dropped off at their house. That's going to save me a ton of trouble. So from there, what they're going to have to do is the customer is most likely going to be prompted to contact the local post or prompted to contact eBay rather than having to contact the customer to try and resolve it out that direction. The next thing too, tracking information sent to the buyer via eBay to eBay message will not qualify for seller protection. Before, I guess it did. If somebody said they couldn't find their item, you could just send them the tracking. Now you're going to be required to attach that to the item, which you should be doing anyways. If you're selling stuff and you're not tracking your items, you're doing something wrong. It's going to bring us to our last slide that we have here for you today. Service metrics and shipping regarding uploading tracking to your listings. So I put that red sign there. That's not on the original photo, but eBay basically changed over their shipping, the way that they were doing it. The new look to the labels looks horrendous, looks hideous. I don't like it. It doesn't seem like it. I don't know. They make these changes and it looks like they're pandering to children, and I don't get it. We're not children. Like, go look at the layout on Amazon when you go and add an item to the catalog. It is complicated, but it's good complicated in the sense that I have charts, graphs, tools, access to direct live chat with representatives. I can look at metrics as far as traffic and my competitors and pricing and be given real-time strong suggestions to make edits and upgrades and just really I feel like I'm in control of what's happening over there. And I look at Amazon as being like an Android phone. You can do anything you want to do with it. You can change your backgrounds, ringtones, text tones, message tones. You can make all these changes to what that phone is capable of doing. Even they got features where you squeeze your phone and different things happen. I look at the iPhone. The iPhone's very basic. It's for people who don't want to delve into the techie end of things. I look at eBay's selling platform as being like an iPhone, and I look at Amazon as being like a Droid phone. Okay, and if you understand what I'm saying there, this new change to the labels, they just simplified the heck out of it, and they took away some of the richest features that made it worth using. One of them is they got rid of FedEx Smart Post. Okay, why did they do this? Okay, FedEx Smart Post was a very, very versatile option for a lot of sellers when they had this funky scenario of a very heavy item that maybe didn't take up a bunch of dimensional space. And then the other thing that really gripes me is that even through all of this, they haven't negotiated better rates with USPS yet. It blows my mind, okay? But what do we have here? We have a lovely alternative for you, okay? I am not in any way sponsored by them, but boy, I love this company. I've made 2 different tutorial training videos on the topic of using Pirate Ship for sending your items out. I cannot tell you how much money I save each month. Somewhere easily between like $200 to $400 a month I save using Pirate Ship. And I'll tell you right now, the rates are actually better than FedEx Smart Post, and you get top-rated seller rates, okay, without being a top-rated seller by using Pirate Ship. And that thing we were talking about before, about uploading tracking, it automatically uploads and imports your tracking across. The links are in the description. Definitely check out that video. Now, I think that's my last slide. So I'm going to give you my whole all in all of this update. Boy, is it a roll of the dice. Boy, is it a little bit scary. I want to see this all come together. I want to see this actually work and see things improve for eBay as a whole, for sellers as a whole. But I have to walk away with my final thoughts being eBay is listening to shareholders and they're not listening to sellers. They're not listening to real sellers, the ones who actually care about what they're doing. They're listening to the corporate sellers on their platform, and it sucks right now. I'm hoping for better things coming into 2018, but boy, am I scared. I would say be aggressive, get your items listed, and make as much money as you can through the holidays. It's not the end of eBay, but it's going to be a little bit of troubled waters. If you enjoyed this video, please take 2 seconds and subscribe to my channel, and then take 2 more seconds, take this video and share it. Share it to your Facebook groups, share it to your timeline, share it to that person you know that's currently selling and you think that they could benefit. And I want you guys to know we do this once a week, every single week. And if you enjoy this and you enjoy me, I hope you come back. I showcase items that I pick up every week. We talk about practical selling advice, and we really want to see everyone strive and survive. So thank you for watching this eBay Fall Seller Update for 2018. If you're watching me live on Facebook right now, stick around. We're going to keep this conversation going. Thanks for watching.